Good morning. Today is Wednesday, October 30, 2019, and you're watching a special edition of the Daily Mix TV. Hi, my name is Sean Patrick Hillman. Over the last few weeks, folks, we've been talking about how there's been a lot of misinformation online with respect to fact-checking by our news media members, as well as the general selective outrage of the moment by both our politicians and the press. And please understand, this is not about politics. This isn't a partisan issue. This is, in fact, a factual issue. So whenever you get into a time period like this, and we went through this after the Summer of Love in '69, through the mid-'70s, we went through this during the McCarthy era, where you do have opinion-based journalism. And as long as it's disclosed that way, that's fine. But today, what's happening is there's so much information out on the internet and on social that's incorrect. And a lot of folks are basing decisions on that. That's why we wanted to have a discussion today with respect to the vaping and electronic cigarette space. So yesterday, news came out that JUUL had laid off 500 employees, or about 15% of its workforce. JUUL is the #1 manufacturer of vaping devices in the United States. They're the #1 selling pod company with respect to juice pods and those kinds of things. So, unfortunately, what's been going on for the last few months? You've had a lot of people that have blamed JUUL for the recent illnesses and the deaths that have taken place across the country. So much so that the federal government got involved and executed a panel study by the Centers for Disease Control, as well as the Food and Drug Administration. Now, both of those government organizations came up with the reality, they published their findings, that it wasn't, in fact, the actual manufacturers that were the problem. The issue is counterfeit pods coming out of China, as well as a homemade THC recipe that many teenagers who unfortunately passed away, they were using to break open those juice refill pods to put THC in, which contained, in this special recipe that was found online, contained a variant out of vitamin E. That variant hampers oxygen production by your lungs. So all of the news outlets that have been blaming JUUL, all of the politicians that have been citing JUUL as the problem, they're blaming the wrong person. They're blaming the wrong company. Now, I don't work for JUUL. I don't represent JUUL. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm actually in conversations with JUUL about something else, having nothing to do with this controversy. I also know people at Logic. I know people at Blue. So this isn't a biased conversation. It's very middle of the road with respect to the Daily Mix TV and me, Sean Patrick Hillman. So is vaping bad for you? Well, smoking anything is bad for you. So, is it worse than cigarettes or better? I'm not going to answer that because I'm not a doctor and I haven't done any research, at least qualitative research with respect to labs and things like that. I've read all of the material online. My team has looked into all of the facts that are being portrayed in the media. And here's the reality. At the end of the day, you take your life in your own hands when you decide to smoke. I have been a traditional tobacco smoker most of my life. Yes, I know it's going to kill me and it's terrible, but at the end of the day, that's a conscious decision I've made. And as much as it bothers the people around me, and as much as it bothers me, to be quite frank, I'm an addict. I'm addicted to nicotine. I'm also addicted to Diet Coke, to be fair. But it's neither here nor there. My point in this is very simple. People need to stop spreading facts that are not true. They should be called so-called facts, as a matter of fact. The reality of what's going on right now is, in the last decade, since this meteoric rise of the vaping space, small business in this country on Main Street has grown exponentially because most of the head shops, vaping shops, and those franchises at gas stations that sell a lot of the refills, they're all small businesses. Now those businesses are suffering because of selective outrage without true fact behind it. So before we start going down this road of hammering against a company like JUUL or Blue or Logic or Vuse or any of those brands. We need actual facts that can be backed up by science. Okay? If we want to put a moratorium on the sale of flavor pods because you're afraid it's targeting, children and teenagers, all for it, makes total sense. But the minute that you start to say that there's a crisis because it's killing people, you're actually driving an illusion to the physical product itself, which is past testing by our own CDC and the FDA. The issue is those counterfeit pods because they contain a chemical that can kill you. And it certainly has made thousands of people sick. So when you're looking at the news, remember you've got to double check your facts. You've got to look at, all right, is JUUL the big bad guy on the block? Well, they're the biggest dog on the block, sure. And they've already complied with federal orders. They've already pulled their advertising. They voluntarily, now this is important, they voluntarily pulled flavor pods off the market. And they did that because it was the responsible thing to do. They also ousted their former CEO, Altria, which is the majority shareholder of JUUL. They've actually installed a new CEO who's going in and cleaning house. So by all recognition, looking right now at what they've done, the moves that they've made, it does appear that they're doing the responsible thing. My point in this, folks, is very simple. It's time to stop blaming people blindly for things that we cannot justify. It's hurting small business, and it's hurting a lot of folks who rely on that space for their livelihoods, such as the 15% of the workforce, the 500 people, that are now finding themselves on the unemployment line because of what's happened in the media and with our politicians. It's time to stop playing political hardball with our lives and focus on the truth as well as the pursuit of justice. So that's my rant for the day, guys. I'm sorry that this is more personal and opinionated than the Daily Mix TV usually is. But in this context, it really is hurting a lot of people. And we need to be careful to not do that, especially with what we're looking at come 2020, which is a potential recession. My name is Sean Patrick Hillman. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Daily Mix TV. If you guys have any questions, comments, or story ideas, please email the Daily Mix TV at gmail.com. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.